All right, welcome everybody to the Thursday, December 15th one-off meeting of Kubernetes SIG Service Catalog. Today we'll be discussing some milestones around an MVP type release and a precursor milestone to get us there in time. I'm your host, Paul Mori, and I am going to share my screen, and we will look at one of the many nearly identical windows that I have on my computer with GIFs of markdown files. All right, can you all see my screen?
Yep.
All right, so as has been previously discussed in SIG meetings, the SIG is going to make an official CFP response for KubeCon EU, which is in Berlin on the 29th and 30th of 2017. And part of that CFP response includes a demo. And so it would be really nice if we were accepted that we actually had something to demo. So I'm going to put the cart before the horse here a little bit, and we'll talk about what we want to be able to show. And since I would really prefer not to have this land on March 27th, let's say, or 28th, we need some time to allow for shakedown, some time to allow for slip. I think that some of you in the audience may be familiar with the concept of things not being done when you plan for them to be, and so we're going to give ourselves a little safety room. So the tentative target date that I've discussed with the SIG leads that we'd like to be in this MVP1 state by is March 1st of 2017, and the content of that is pretty much the barest skeleton of an MVP-like thing that has the right architecture. So let's talk about functional requirements for this. The first is that Service Catalog v1 Alpha 1 API is complete and functional, meaning that you can do REST CRUD on the broker, service class, instance, and binding resources. And complete is defined as an integrator should be able to program against a REST API. The second one is that a Golang client for that API is auto-generated. And what this means is if folks are familiar with the Kubernetes Golang client, and I have just realized I have 11 minutes remaining on my battery. If people are familiar with that, it is a Golang API client that provides an interface in terms of the Go API types that hits the REST interface. There is infrastructure already to generate this thing, and we want to be able to use that to generate our own client. Third is there should be a native Kubernetes style CLI experience. So what that means is we should have a kubectl-like thing that you can do I think Brendan, you called it catalog CTL. Let's call it that for now in this meeting. Catalog CTL get brokers, and you get a formatted list of brokers. You can do describe on one of these resources, list and describe on these resources, and get formatted output. And then integration with the Open Service Broker API, you should be able to add a broker, provision a service instance, bind to it, unbind, deprovision, remove the broker, and update the broker. So pull in changes as the broker starts offering new service classes, and then the bindings will manifest simply as a secret in the Kubernetes core. So no magic stuff yet. And going back to the barest skeleton of MVP, I think just getting a secret is in keeping with that mindset. So the high-level architectural requirements to go along with this is that we have moved off third-party resource and fully on to Service Catalog v1 Alpha 1 API. We have code generators in place for deep copy, defaults, conversions, YAML parsers, and the API client. The controller or controllers, as the case may be, by the time we actually build this stuff, use the Kubernetes controller infrastructure, meaning the list watchers, informers, generic controller, and the CLI interface is implemented as something that vendors in the guts of kubectl, but adds listers and describers for the API resources. I will talk a little bit about future things with CLI, but I want to know if there are any questions about this before we continue.
I had one question on the, in terms of functionality, this looks really good. What do we think is going to be the actual services that we're going to offer through the brokers? What brokers are we going to have for the MVP?
So that's a really good question. Off the top of my head, I would say that like the one of the brokers that is currently in the incubator repo might be a good candidate, but I think that is something that bears some consideration by the group, especially in light of the fact that we plan to have a demo of this stuff. We need to have a broker to demo, right?
Yeah, and I wasn't
sure. I don't have a great answer right now. Sorry,
I wasn't sure. Yeah, have we closed on the white box versus black box? I know we've kind of gone back and forth on that because like we could probably build a Helm white box broker as part of the demo, but I know we had kind of said black box for some of this stuff first.
I would strongly prefer to demo black box because I feel like that is the most concise way to demo the concept, and leave white box out of the demo. I can tell you, like, I know that we will have a strong interest in white box brokers, but I think for demo purposes, it's more relatable and easier to message around a black box.
Yeah, so I would probably nominate the S3 broker in the Cloud Foundry samples repo. We've used that with pretty good success, and the primary reason I'd vote for this is it's not async and it doesn't have a long lag time between synchronous provision and bind calls.
Okay.
So that's demo only. I'm not suggesting that's like the official MVP one support, but demo pretty good there.
And what about oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So also a follow-up to your question, Weston, are we going to target async provision and deprovision support in MVP1?
That is a good question that I was just asking myself. I think that is TBD.
Cool.
I think that we probably have to.
We have it's a standard of the service broker API, and I think probably the majority of service brokers implement it. And if we come out and can't support standard brokers, then I think we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, I accept that personally. So I will go and make some changes to this after this meeting. I think the leads are going to meet again after this, and we'll talk through that. So in order to get there by March 1st.
Sorry, Paul, I had one more question.
Yeah, sure.
Related to examples. Are we able to reuse the service brokers that already exist for Cloud Foundry? Or can those be used like with pretty minimal modifications, or are those completely different?
I think that interoperability is a goal, but it will probably depend quite a bit on the specifics of how each broker is implemented.
Okay.
Well, why would we not be able to use those brokers? It seems like we should be able to, right? It's just a matter
Right.
of,
That's kind of what I was thinking. If the APIs are the same, we could use them and then plug it into our controller.
yeah. If we can't do that, then we might have messed something up.
Well, so I agree on should. I think should and will are dramatically different things in terms of messaging and expectation creation. So I would like to have a more detailed discussion about the degree to which we expect interoperability. I completely agree that it is a goal, and as Aaron was just suggesting, we seem like we're considering strongly using a Cloud Foundry broker as part of the demo.
Yeah, I think that's where I was going with it. If we already have some examples out there in Cloud Foundry, it gives us a nice pool to draw from the demo purpose.
I think that would be a really strong demo to show a Cloud Foundry broker being used in Kubernetes catalog. Okay. Any other comments before we talk about the pre-MVP Legos milestone? I'm hearing a no. So let's see. To get there, we have another milestone that we've just discussed called Legos 1. And it is the first couple functionals where distinction between functional and architecture is not made in a first-class way because we finished assembling this right before the SIG meeting started. So the requirements there are service catalog v1 alpha 1 API is complete and functional. Broker service class instance binding. Integration should be possible with the REST API. An API server serves this to enable 1.2 item on this list, and then generated Golang client. Any comments, questions about what this means? Perfect. Well, this was all that was on the agenda, so goodbye. Just kidding.
Well, I was like,
Tell us all your thoughts and feels, everybody. Good, bad, ugly?
Well, so this is great, but it leaves all of the logistics as an exercise to the user. I think this is a good first step. I'm interested now in how we get to February 1 and who's doing what and how we can start breaking out the work items and parallelizing and all that magical stuff that makes for good success.
Yeah. So I think that's
stuff
something
we can't cover in this meeting, but
right. I would really like to leave 2016 with some of that planning done. So perhaps we can talk amongst the leads about that kind of stuff.
that sounds good.
Sweet. So that really was all that we had on the agenda for today. I personally am extremely overscheduled, have quite a bit of stuff to get done before the end of the week. So if there are no discussion topics related to this, I'd like to adjourn the meeting, and perhaps we can we can talk amongst the leads a little bit more on some of the details on this. Everybody okay with that?
I wouldn't mind ending early. I did have one comment to make to the group just to get everyone's pulse on the matter.
Okay.
Do you want to have any user experience UI stuff for the MVP one? Do we want it to be all CLI? The reason I ask is I'm trying to see if I can find a developer here that could help build a MVP-esque catalog browse experience, or see if anyone can help out on that on the Kubernetes dashboard side.
I have been thinking pure CLI.
Okay.
Personally.
Okay. That's fine.
We should definitely think about when we want the UI to land, because that's going to be a hugely important part. But I think I agree that for March 1, it's being a little optimistic.
All right. I'm still going to probably push forward and see if we can get the rolling on it, because I don't think we're blocking anything.
Yeah, if we can get the resource now and they can be working on it, and it just lands as soon as it lands. Absolutely.
Cool.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining. I am going to end the meeting here. And since I believe this is the last SIG Service Catalog scheduled meeting of 2016, I want to just say thank you to everybody that has been participating, everybody that's been attending. Hello to anybody watching on YouTube that has not yet joined the meeting. We'd love to have you. And everybody have a wonderful holiday season and New Year. Take care.
You too.
Bye.